and welcome to the session on Knights and Knaves. Hi, I'm Ravi. My Twitter handle is @RaviHanda. You can use that to connect with me and to provide feedback. Now, what exactly are questions on Knights and Knaves or the so to say truth teller? Well, in these kind of logical reasoning questions, you are given a few people or a few knights and few knaves. The idea essentially is that they will always speak the truth or they will always speak a lie. In these type of questions are very common in logical reasoning exams. So now to solve these type of questions, we will look at a few examples. Once again, remember the basic idea. The people who are considered as knights are those who always speak the truth. The people who are considered as knaves are those who always lie or always speak a false statement. Let's look at a few questions so that it becomes clearer. Let's say we are given three friends A, B and C. Out of them, one of them is a knight, whereas the other two are knaves. Read these statements and see if you can figure out who is that knight. A says, I am a knight. B says, what A says is true. C says, both A and B are lying. Now, you will have to start with one of these statements. I don't recommend that you start with statement A. Why? Because it's not telling me something about someone else. A says, I am a knight. Maybe he's speaking the truth, maybe he's lying. There is no way to figure this stuff out from here. Let's start with statement B. Statement B says, what A says is true. So let's say if we assume that what B is saying is true, that means B will be true or B will be a knight. That will make A also true or A also a knight. You cannot have two knights. You cannot have two people speaking the truth. That means our assumption, which we had assumed that B is speaking the truth, was incorrect. And hence I know that B is speaking a lie or B is false. Because what I assumed became incorrect. That is how you solve these sort of questions. You take an assumption and you see whether it is correct or incorrect. I took an assumption that B was speaking the truth, which made A also is speaking the truth. Two people cannot speak the truth, so my assumption went incorrect. Now, if B is lying and B is saying A speaks the truth. So if B is lying, first of all, B is false. And since B said that A speaks the truth, that statement is false. So A is also false. Both of them are false. Now let's look at C. C says both A and B are lying. C is indeed speaking the truth. And that means the knight that we were looking for is C. So that is how you solve the basic questions on knights and knaves. Take an assumption, see if it is true or it is false, and then proceed. Let's look at one more question. Truth tellers and liars. Okay. 4 jokers, A, B, C and D are brought before Batman. He knows that 2 of them are liars. Okay. So now out of 4 of them, we know that 2 are liars and 2 are speaking the truth. He just said that 2 are liars, so the other 2 have to speak the truth. That is an assumption that I am making to solve this question. Probably it would be specified in the exam. Now, what is given to me is A says D robbed the bank, B says C is always true, C says B is always true. So these 2 are kind of together and both of them are talking about each other. Keep that in mind. D says B is a liar, but he didn't rob the bank. Okay. So let's start with these 2 statements, the middle ones. Let's assume that B is true. If B is true, then C is also true and A and D become false. A says D robbed the bank. So clearly D is out of contention for robbing the bank. But D says B is a liar, but he didn't rob the bank. That means this statement is a lie because we have assumed it as false. So that means who robbed the bank? That means B robbed the bank. So B robbed the bank is a possibility if B and C are speaking the truth. What if it was the other way around? Let's say B was lying. Let's start with this assumption. If B is lying, then C is always true becomes false and C is also lying. So if both of these are lying, then A is true and D is true, what does A say? A says D robbed the bank. So that means D is also a possibility. So who actually robbed the bank? It could be B, it could be D, and that is the reason why you will mark option 3 as your answer. Let's look at more types on knights and knaves. True lies. Very interesting type. In this, what happens is one of these statement is true and one of these statement is false. Question is actually easier. Let's see how. Statement 1. Each of these statements contains one truth and one lie. Statement 1 says the dog had black hair and long tail. Statement 2 is short tail, wore a collar. Statement 3, the dog had white hair and no collar. Now, we need to find out the characteristics of the dog. So, black hair and long tail, one of them is true and one of them is false. That means any option which says black hair and long tail both, that is incorrect. So, black hair and long tail is here. This is ruled out. Black hair and long tail is here. This is ruled out. Short tail and a collar. Short tail and a collar, both of them cannot occur simultaneously. So that these options will be ruled out. Short tail and a collar is not there in option 1. Short tail and a collar is not there in option 2. So either of them can be the answer. White hair and no collar, they cannot occur together. White hair and no collar, they cannot occur together. That means this one is incorrect and option 2 is my answer. As you can see, just by eliminating the options, I got to the answer very, very quickly. And that is what you should do in true lies sort of questions. Use the options. Let's look at what would you do if there were no options. Same set of statements. Well, in this case, this can lead to multiple answers. And how do you get to those multiple answers? Start with one basic assumption. Let's say you assume that the dog had black hair. Now, if the dog had black hair, then he cannot have a long tail because one statement is true and one statement is false. So which means he will have a short tail. And then if he has a short tail and he wore a collar. So short tail and wore a collar cannot occur together. That means it was a no collar situation. So black hair, short tail, no collar is correct. It is a possibility. It is not the only possibility. Let's try and figure out other possibilities. Start with white hair this time. So if he has white hair, then he can have a long tail because the other statement has to be true in S1. I assumed white hair, so black hair got eliminated. The other part has to be true. So now he has a long tail. Now, if he has a long tail, or let's concentrate on white hair. White hair and no collar cannot go together. So white hair and there should be a collar. So this is another possibility which is possible. As a matter of fact, these two are the possible options. If you go back to the previous slide, white hair, long tail and a collar. White hair, long tail and a collar. That is essentially the option that we were looking for. So once again, I like to repeat, as long as possible in such sort of questions, you should go by the options. However, this method is also important to understand as to what you are going to do without the options. It is important to understand these type of problems. Let us look at one more problem. The last one of the lot, but trust me, it's the most complicated one as well. I suggest that since you have had some basic idea of knights and knaves, stop the video here and try and solve this on your own. The key idea is that there is someone called a spy in this question who can speak the truth or who can lie. So stop the video here and try and solve it. Okay, so I guess you would have solved the question by now. Let us look at it, how we can solve it. Three people are there. One is a knight, one is a knave, and the third is a spy. So he can speak the truth or a lie. So what all possibilities are there? The possibilities for the knight is speaking the truth, false, and spy. So XYZ can be TFS or TSF or FST. Basically, three people on three positions can be arranged in 3 factorial or 6 ways. And I've listed down all 6 ways here. This is X speaking the truth, Y is lying, Z is a spy. X is truth, Y is spy, Z is lying. X is lying, Y is spy, Z is truth. X is lying, Y is truth, Z is spy. X is spy, Y is lying, Z is truth. X is spy, Y is truth, Z is lying. So these are all the possibilities which are covered here. Now, taken statement, assume it to be true and proceed. X says Y is not a spy. If I assume this statement to be true, that means Y cannot be a spy. So that means T followed by an S cannot occur. T followed by an S is here. This cannot occur, so this is eliminated. What if I assumed the statement to be false? So if what X is saying is false, that means Y can be a spy or Y has to be a spy. That means Y cannot be anything else. Y has to be a spy, so Y cannot be true. So FT as a possibility is also ruled out. Where is FT? Here is FT. This is ruled out. Now, let's assume this statement to be true. What it is saying is X is a spy. So if this is true, and that would make X a spy. So X cannot be F. So which means F blank T is not possible. And where is F blank T? F blank T is here. So this is ruled out. And then we can also assume this first statement or Z's statement to be false. And if we have assumed Z's statement to be false, then means X cannot be a spy. False is also occupied. That means this spy thing, this has to be false. So S starting with an S and ending with a F, this cannot be a possibility. So the only possibilities that are remaining with us are true, false, spy and spy, false, true. I suggest that if you are not very clear here, just try this exercise on your own or just hear the last 2 minutes of the video again. And now you should look at the options. So who are we sure of? X we are not sure, he can speak the truth, he can be a spy. Z we are not sure of, he can be a spy or he can speak the truth. However, we are sure of Y by speaking false or Y is a knave, and that is indeed our answer. With this, I would like to wrap up this session on knights and knaves and truth tellers. Please provide feedback via Twitter at my Twitter handle, which is @Ravi Handa. Thank you.